Hey everyone, welcome back to the How to Build Your Own Training Program series. My name is Coach Tyler and Fit Bod Institute. In today's video number 4, we're just going to be going through a few different topics. If hopefully you've already watched the first few videos, you've been able to now write up a bit of a program for yourself based off of those. Now, if you haven't done so yet, just make sure to go ahead and check those out right now, because today we're going to be talking about finally getting in the gym, right? And some things that we're going to want to pay attention to as we start to make our way into the gym and ready to put our training program to the test. So we're going to be talking about warm-up. We are going to be talking about progressive warm-up sets. Okay, we're going to go through what that's like and why that's important. We're going to be talking about range of motion, rest periods, and then time under tension, which essentially kind of runs right in with range of motion as well. And so these are a lot of common questions that I get from my clients. And while maybe not the most important since they are in video 4, there's still going to be some really important things to consider here as we start to work our way through our training program. And so really, we're just going to kind of go from top to bottom as soon as we get into the gym and then as we get into our workout. So warm up. What should we do for our warm up as we immediately get into the gym? And so here is where I really love to have my clients hop on an elliptical. Doesn't have to be the elliptical, especially obviously if you do not have access to one, but this is one of my favorite modalities for really any type of cardio, right? You're able to get a full body going, right? Your arms are moving, your legs are moving. It's really easy to maintain a steady jogging pace. And really, we only need to spend about 10 to 15 minutes there to get our heart rate up, get the blood flow going. And this is also where I like to take some time to just mentally prepare for my workout and just kind of psych myself up and really get myself ready. And so this is highly recommended if you are very short on time. You don't have to do this by any means, but really something that when I started implementing this, I really found a massive positive transfer into my workouts where I was already ready to go. I was warmed up, especially in the cold months here in the Pacific Northwest. Just having that blood flow ready to go and the joints a little bit more warmed up can really pay a lot of dividends into your workout. Plus, there is that added bonus of now all of a sudden getting an extra 30 to 45, 60 minutes of activity in the course of your week, right? If we're training 3, 4, 5 times a week and we're doing 10 to 15 minutes of some warm-up cardio, that is just going to add up over time. And if maybe you are someone who works from a desk or just has a somewhat more overall sedentary lifestyle, just adding some of that in can already have some great impacts on your overall activity throughout the week. So it's a great little compound effect of not just getting warmed up for your workout and mentally ready, but just adding in some extra activity throughout the course of the week, which if you're in a fat loss phase and just getting things started, or you are already in a fat loss phase and this just isn't something that you do, you automatically now get to add almost an hour or more of activity to your week. So great aspect there across a couple of different modalities. So now that we are into our warm-up, this is where I now like to jump into my progressive warm-up sets. Now, other than like the cardio warm-up where highly recommended, not required if you just absolutely can't do it, this is something that I really try and stress on my clients that this is kind of a requirement. Like this is something that we need to do each and every single workout. So progressive warm-up sets essentially is how this is going to look is that first set, it's a warm-up set. you're going to start off with a pretty light weight, whatever that might be for you, right? It's always going to be relative for each and every single person, and you are going to do a high rep set. So 15, 20, 25 reps depending on the exercise. We're going to make sure that we are treating this weight though like it is a working set. So we're really training hard, we're lifting heavy and really pushing ourselves. And what I mean by that is perfect form, perfect range of motion, right? Good tempo, right? So we are really focused on getting blood flow to the working muscle. We're warming up our joints and our ligaments so that they are ready to handle heavier loads. So not only is this going to make your lifting safer, we're never going to get rid of the injury risk when it comes to lifting, unfortunately, but this is one thing that we can do where we can help to decrease it by making sure we're warmed up. What this is also going to do is get you practice reps. Lifting is a neurological skill. And how do we get better at skill? Practice. And so this is a great opportunity to get some practice reps in without being in your heavier working sets. And so that is going to compound over time. Okay, so we've done our first working set, some higher reps. If we're talking about RIR, like we did previously in video 2, and we talked about volume and intensity, we're looking at really an RIR of 6, 7, 8, right? So something fairly light, not fatiguing, but starting to get that blood flow going. In that second warm-up set, as the name indicates, progressive warm-up sets, we're going to now increase the weight and drop the reps, right? And then we are going to continue in that fashion until we've worked our way into our first working set. How many warm-up sets? What I usually recommend is if it is the first body part of the day, so it's your first chest exercise, your first back exercise, I do recommend 4 to 5 warm-up sets, okay? This is where, we can just really get things going and get the blood flow ready and your joints ready, and you're ready to go for that first working set. You're always just gonna be a little bit colder, so it's never a bad idea to take a little bit more time to warm up there. As you now get into your workout, you're getting into your second and third exercises, you could probably drop that down to around 3. It's still a good idea to go through some warm-up sets with each and every exercise because it's also going to allow you to know where your strength is that day. If typically you warm up with X weight and that's feeling actually really, really light today, that last warm-up set, hey, maybe you're feeling that really good that day. Maybe you can push those working sets a little bit more. And so it can help really give you an indication of where your strength is that day because how you're feeling is just going to be up and down. And so it's a great opportunity to self-auto-regulate and know if you've got a little bit of extra juice in the day, or maybe you're just feeling a little extra fatigued and you're gonna just kind of keep weights the same as you normally do just because you don't necessarily feel really strong, okay? So again, the important thing to remember about these is that they should not be fatiguing, right? So you should not be too fatigued by the time you get to your first working set with these. The one little caveat being is if you've never done these before and this is going to be something new that you are introducing, there is just going to be a slight adaptation period over a couple of weeks where you might feel a little extra fatigued by the time you get to that first working set. But because the weights are so light, you are going to quickly adapt and that is going to be a non-issue moving forward. So get through those first couple of weeks and you are going to be fine. The other thing that we should make sure to note here is that these should not take you very long at all, okay? We're not going to employ normal rest periods here. Really, 30, 45 seconds at the most for your rest in these. And so I know sometimes people will go, wow, this is just gonna add so much time to my training session. But as long as you're only really taking those 30 seconds, 45 seconds, you're going to get through them fairly quickly, and then you're gonna be right into your working sets. And you should still be able to have a decent workout without spending too much time in the gym, as we want to make sure that we're not always in there for 2.5 hours, okay? And now that kind of then bleeds right into rest periods, okay? How long should we be resting between our working sets? Another very common question that I get. A great rule of, or I should say that there really is no length of time that you should not be resting for. So basically what I mean is that you can rest as long as you need, and you should rest as long as you need to fully recover in between sets. And so the way I always like to break it down for my clients is for your heavier compound movements, we're really pushing some high weight, we're going in those lower rep ranges of kind of the 3, 4, 5, really working on our strength. 3 to 5 minutes tends to be ideal for most people. For some stuff, for me, I find 3.5 minutes tends to be perfect. Sometimes if I'm going through some heavy deadlifts, I'm gonna go into that 5-minute range. But as long as you are resting long enough to fully recover, you're going to be in a good spot. You're not gonna lose out on any gains by getting a little extra rest. Then when it comes to maybe some more of our isolation movements, dumbbell lateral raises, bicep curls, tricep press downs, you can more than likely bump that rest time down a little bit just because they're not big muscles that are going to take a little bit longer to recover. And so this is typically where I'll go anywhere from 90 seconds to maybe 2 minutes depending on how I'm feeling that day. And so I definitely encourage you to time your rest periods, especially as you are getting started. You don't have to do that forever, but it's never a bad idea to time them initially and see how you feel. See how you feel at 3 minutes. See how you feel at 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and just kind of start to take note of what does tend to be the optimal rest period for yourself. I've been doing this for, close to 15 years now of training, and so for myself, I don't have to look at a clock anymore. I just kind of can know when my body is ready to go again. And so we all have to go through that initial phase of figuring that out. But once you're able to get there and really understand your body a little bit more, you are just going to inherently know, okay, I'm ready to go. I know that this is the perfect amount of rest. The one thing that I would recommend here is don't take less, okay? Again, to get the most out of our workouts, to make sure we are pushing those working sets to the best of our ability, a little bit more rest is always going to be better than less, okay? So now let's talk about time under tension and range of motion, because I believe that these two can be put in the same house together here. And so typically, time under tension is described as you are going through a rep. How long does it take you to go from the starting point through the lowering or the eccentric portion? How long are you pausing at the bottom of the movement? And then how long does it take you to push that movement up? And I'm just gonna say it, we don't need to be doing long eccentric phases or very long pauses for the most part. You are going to be just fine going with a normal tempo rate. So really how I like to describe that to clients is let's take a dumbbell bench press, because you can kind of imagine I'm laying on the bench here. We have our dumbbells in that starting position. We're gonna go a 1 Mississippi, slight pause, like half a second, and then really on the upwards portion, you can go as fast as you want. You can try and explode the weight up, but you can then also think of it as a 1 Mississippi on the way up. If you can do that with perfect range of motion, which we're always gonna wanna make sure that we are doing, you can also then check out my other YouTube channel here within here, where I'm going through the biomechanics and the form of a bunch of different exercises. So if you are unsure of what a full range of motion looks like, definitely go check that out. You should be able to search it, find it, and that's going to give you an idea if you are doing it correctly or not. But as long as we're doing that 1 Mississippi count on the eccentric and on the concentric with a full range of motion, you are going to be perfect and you're going to get everything that you need out of it. Now, The two last things that I do want to talk about here is drop sets and compound sets. And so these can be some intensity techniques that you can add into your training to just get a little bit more out of. I would say that for the most part, if you're a beginner, these aren't going to be things that you need. You're going to be able to make massive amounts of progress on just strictly sticking to your training. But having things like drop sets where after maybe your last working set, you drop the weight by 10%, 15%, go to failure, and you can do multiple drop sets, those can have some added benefit. And I can talk about those a little bit more in the next video, where we're gonna talk about some progression schemes, how to progressive overload, and then what can that look like. So that could be something that you could add in there as you go along. And then compound sets, which are going to be where you're doing the same body part 2 exercises in a row. So something like a leg extension and then immediately into a goblet squat. But again, if we're a beginner, not something that we're not going to necessarily need. And that's something that, again, we'll talk about in the next video here. So just a couple of things there to think about as you get into your training program. Hopefully those can give you a good guidance on how to set up your warm-ups, what do progressive warm-up sets look like, and then making sure that we have proper tempo as well as range of motion. So as always, thank you for watching. If you are interested in just a free 30-minute Zoom consultation with myself, please feel free to shoot me an email, tyler@fitbodinstitute.com, and have a great day, everyone.